Welcome to Arthouse Legends, where high art and geek culture collide. I'm the MovieDude Eric, and it's time for another contemplating video, this time on the teen comedy Edge of 17. Now, out of the movies that I saw this weekend that truly just completely astounded me, Edge of 17 didn't exactly get to the point that other films this weekend really did. It didn't have the grandiosity of something like Arrival or Fantastic Beasts and Where to Find Them. It didn't have any of the emotional depths that we had with Loving. I had a hard time really caring about this movie. And part of me wonders if maybe it's just because I'm getting to that point where I'm just not really connecting with a teen movie. But at the same time, I find myself eerily fascinated in quite a bit of awe over the film as well. Because this is a movie that really puts you in a position where you're really not meant to like the main protagonist. And what I think is fascinating is that with the rest of the cast and the rest of the characters, I found myself more connected with them and more interested in them, even in some instances, some of the more terrible characters, so to say, such as Kira Sidgwick's mother character or Blake Jenner's kind of perfect man kind of thing. I don't know why they did that, but okay. But I was actually more fascinated with these people. I guess maybe fascinated is an interesting. They're more fascinating characters, but yet they are performed by actors that really just didn't connect with their roles. Whereas the one character that I found myself almost despising is the best actor in the film, and that's Haley Steinfeld, who I actually think is a really great actress, and that I think that she has a career well ahead of her. You know, I just like with everybody else, saw her originally in the Coen Brothers remake of True Grit. I really enjoyed her in smaller stuff, such as her little role in Begin Again, which I thought was a great film, and that I think she brought something to that. But in those particular films, she doesn't really have the lead. And seeing her being able to take such a lead role, especially a character that is so unlikable, uh, is something that I have to give her a lot of credit for, and I have to, I have to kind of give it to the director to give this over to Haley Steinfeld, who never really led a film like this before. Um, but the character itself is just awful. Now, I've liked movies where we've had awful main protagonists. I guess the most prominent ones would be Leonardo DiCaprio in The Wolf of Wall Street and Jake Gyllenhaal in Nightcrawler. Both are just horrible human beings. I just want to see really get what's coming to them, and in a way, I kind of felt the same way about this particular character, even though I'm more fascinated by the actress who is taking on this role and is giving it her all, and I can genuinely see the talent that she's bringing to this. But I also find it very interesting that when I look back on all the other characters in correlation with what Haley Steinfeld is doing in this particular film, I realized something also very peculiar, which is that Haley Steinfeld's character is a black hole. She literally has no real sense of purpose, whereas everyone else has something to them, whether it be a role that they play or job that they perform. They have something that gives their life meaning, where this particular character that Haley Steinfeld is playing has nothing of that. And I found myself kind of going back to thinking about how, in a way, I think that this is kind of intentionally put out there by the filmmakers to give her absolutely no ins and outs. Uh, and in that sense, I definitely respect that particular decision. Although the problem is that to have her surrounded by very fascinating people and to give those people very little time so that we can spend it with this particular teenage girl who, for the most part, just throws temper tantrums, whines, cries, and blames everybody for her misfortune, excluding herself for that matter. She doesn't deserve the happy ending that the film basically puts out there. And quite honestly, I don't know. I think that the film, produced by James L. Brooks, and I could definitely get a lot of the James L. Brooksian elements, although I wish that it would have had a little bit more biting satire, just simply because, to me, Brooks is always good at getting at something darker underneath the surface. And there is something that is kind of dark, but it's also given itself kind of an out by the end of the film. And that's something that I didn't particularly appreciate about what the film finally did. Although at the same time, I don't know. I liked the other characters, and I was fascinated by the other characters. But at the same time, though, we're not supposed to sympathize with these other characters. We're mostly supposed to sympathize or to be drawn into Haley Steinfeld's character. While the acting is great, I don't know. I don't feel like, or at least for me at least, I had a hard time really being able to connect in the way that the filmmaker clearly has it set up. But I do find it fascinating that we have the kind of the black hole in the middle of all of these characters and all of these individuals that are truly interesting and fun and fascinating, and that I would love to know more about these other individuals, but not the one that we're really following. So, I don't know, what do you think of this particular character if you've seen Edge of 17? I know that you can make a lot of plays on towards other actors and other teenage movies. One that I kept kind of wanting to come back to was Rushmore, but the problem with comparing them with to other teen movies is that usually the teenagers in those movies do something, or they are something. Even in the sense of The Graduate, which again, it's not exactly a great film. In fact, I didn't like it at all. But even Benjamin had the fact that he went to college and that he has graduated and that he has the ability for purpose to him, which is something that even this character doesn't have. But like Max Fisher, he makes something of himself. He doesn't win, and in many cases, we don't like Max because he is selfish and self-absorbed. But the film allows us to not like Max, but to kind of still see something genuinely brilliant about Max, a tortured, brilliant soul that at some particular point is going to make his mark on the world. I just don't see that with the Haley Steinfeld character, and I don't know why we should really care about if she gets what she wants or not. In one particular instance, she basically sets herself up for failure, and yet gets mad when other people seem to kind of take her at her word. And I don't know. I find myself really confused by what this movie is trying to go for, considering how it mixes the messages between the characters. But do you take from this the same things, or do you kind of like the fact that it's as messy as it is? I mean, as a 17-year-old girl, I could kind of assume that that's a bit of what it is like to be a 17-year-old girl. But at the same time, though, why have someone so generic as your protagonist like we do here? That she has no defining qualities other than the fact that she's kind of a narcissist. Uh, that's not something that compels a character or compels people to like or be fascinated by a character. And if there's one thing that I find very fascinating about how, especially modern movies about female protagonists, teenage female protagonists specifically, is the fact that they seem to kind of vanilla them a lot, where they don't have any defining qualities or traits other than something extremely generic as a means of kind of positioning them in a way that makes it so that people can kind of see themselves in that character. And I've always had a problem with that, primarily because that kind of filmmaking and that kind of protagonist has no distinct qualities about themselves. There's nothing fascinating. There's nothing exciting about them. They are basically an avatar. And especially in a bad movie, avatars are just really lame. Or at least that's kind of what I take. But if you have a different opinion, I definitely would love to hear what you have to say in the comment section, or if you want to hit me up on Facebook at the Arthouse Legends Facebook page, or of course Twitter at Arthouse Legends. I would love to hear what you got to say. I've got a few more contemplating videos that I'm hoping to do over the next week, and I'm about to start my top 100 list of the top 100 films of all time. I'm really excited about that. I think this might be something I might do a little bit more frequently. And then, of course, we are getting closer to the end of the year, so we are also getting close to the top 10 of 2016, which I'm starting to kind of put together the list as it is. I still got a lot of movies to see. I might not get into it until about halfway into January because of those late December, January releases that come around that period, and I want to make sure to kind of see those before making up the list. I can't wait. I can't wait to share those. I might do my top or worst 5 films of 2016 on January 1st. So that's kind of giving you an idea of what to look forward in the holiday season. I'm also probably going to start looking at films that kind of play up the holiday season and have something to say about the holidays. So be prepared for some more videos. I'm going to try to get these out a little bit more frequently. And I hope that you'll join me for the ride. So this is MovieDude Eric, and Fiend.